Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome everyone again in this class of Ramayana, and today we'll discuss the remaining verse regarding what Sage Sutta was discussing to the sages that came in front of him to gain knowledge. And what was the last verse that we studied in the previous class? And that was Ghore Kali Yuge Brahman Jananam Papa Karminam Manah Shuddhi Vihinanam Nishkritischa Katham Bhavet. The sages that have amassed in front of Sage Sutta are asking him that, "O Sage Sutta, tell us that how the people who have fallen so much in this Kali Yuga would regain consciousness, would regain their bearings again and get up and apply themselves in the path of goodness, in the path of Dharma." So they are asking the Manah Shuddhi Vihinanam, the people whose inner self, whose soul has become so much dirty and unhappy, that they tell us the way. How would those people, how would those worldly and materialistic people become a happy person again? What are the ways that they would apply in their lives and become a happy person from all spheres, physically happy, mentally happy, spiritually happy? Nishkritischa Katham Bhavet. And if we see this era, this Kali Yuga, even in this Kali Yuga, 10 or 20 years before, just 2 decades before, if we go back, what we saw, there was a greater cordiality among people. Whenever a special guest came to anyone's house and village, if any guest came to any family, any single family, all the other 10 families of the village, would come up to greet that person, offer their foods and anything they could. And instantaneously, the guest was served with so many food and well wishes, good wishes. And he felt so much, he luxuriated in all those feelings. It was the most amicable type of relationship that pervaded not so far, just 10 to 20 years before in Kali Yuga. And now what we see, that even 2 brothers who live in adjacent flats in the same building, they don't have any idea about who comes to one's house, who comes to one other's flats, and they are busy in themselves. We see it in cities. So this feeling of relationship, of getting social to people has degraded in these years. And that has created all the sorts of sickness. Because look, India was a great country in many aspects. It is a great country still, because the heritage of India, the culture of India, the teachings of India will one day uplift this entire world, whether anyone understands it or not, whether anyone listens it or not. But you see the entire world, you see the phenomena that is prevailing in the entire world, and you now turn your eyes towards India. What is happening here? How India is now getting uplifted on its own rules. Any country, when it forgets its own culture, when it forgets its own costumes, what are its roots? Whenever we forget, whenever we cut ourselves from our roots, we will fall down. The tree, whatever way, whatever stronger, thicker, taller it is, once the root is cut from the tree will surely fall down. And that's what happened with India. Now again, with so many indigenous people, so many people who have indigenous beliefs in themselves, the country is upgrading itself again. And what I was telling, that India, the culture of India, and the heritage, the teachings of India, were not these what we see today. India was greater in many aspects, what I was talking about. And one aspect to make India a greater nation a stronger nation, a nation who taught the world, was not only greater by some one aspect. It was greater from many aspects, and one aspect of that, among all those things, were that India has the culture to have joint families. We see this idea of having nuclear families and happy families, shorter family, happy family, prosperous family, opulent family. All these ideas have come. We have inherited those ideas from Western countries. Especially, initially, our culture was joint family system, and that system preserved Indian culture, Indian heritage, Indian teachings, Indianism in people. And now Westerners are understanding this rule. Our sages directed some rules, regulations. Our good people, ancient people, whom we call our ancestors, directed these rules, settled these rules and regulations about joint family system, not just any way. They were a scientific person. They're all known person. They were sages as well. A sage, an awakened person cannot take any action in a huff, any way. He takes each and every step and watching that there is a lot of things to come up with this action. So they developed this joint family system in Indian society, in Indian culture, because we see whenever a person is hurt by any other person, any one person, any circumstance, then when a joint family is there, when many members of families are there, when a person is hurt by one person, there are 10 other persons to uplift him, to soothe him. But nowadays what we see, when a man, his wife, his 2 children, and both two go to work and children live in the care of nannies, how would those children develop the emotion that is given by father? How would those children develop the emotion, the kindness, the heartfulness that used to be given to them by their mothers? This is the degrading part. How our culture, how our heritage, how our society, how Indianism is declining among people, young people. We are the reason. We are cutting ourselves from the roots that used to nourish that whole tree that was called India, that was called Indianism. And that is why this younger generation is getting away, because it has never developed. You never develop the emotion, the feeling in your offsprings, in your sons and daughters, that they would listen to you. So joint family system, whenever anyone's mother was busy, there were so many people to take care of the boy, to nourish him. His grandmother was there, his grandfather was there, his aunt was there, his uncle was there. So many brothers and sisters were there with whom he played. He led his entire life freely. And from all of those members, all members of family loved the children, loved the son and daughter, loved their children, loved their younger ones. And he got immense love and care from the members of the family. And now he never gets those love, those emotions, those feelings, those rules of life, how to lead a life. A nanny, any other person, a servant cannot incorporate those emotions in a child of yours. He cannot do that. A person who lives on wages can never do that. Money is a greater thing. Nothing is possible in this world without money, but money is not everything. You can buy a bed with money, but you cannot buy sleep with money. You can create a good house with money. You can create a good building, a good bungalow with money, but you cannot create a family with money. You can buy good food with money, but you cannot buy appetite with money. So this is the thing that you should understand in yourself. Everything cannot be bought by money. You can buy a servant with money, but you cannot buy the emotions. a fatherly emotion. You cannot buy a motherly emotion that is required for your child. So understand this. Start getting into your families. Never segregate from your families, from your fathers, from your mothers. Grandparents love their granddaughters, grandsons so much. They care for them. In fact, the whole thing works vice versa. So again, I request everyone who are hearing this thing, this class, that again, return to your roots. Return to the country, to the culture that was once the teacher of all the cultures of the world. The world is moving towards India. The world is now understanding the importance the cultures of India had. We relegated ourselves from our cultures. We alienated ourselves from cultures, believing that they were just uncivilized cultures. No, those were not uncivilized cultures. Those were the most scientific cultures that our sages directed, that were the sages settled in India. And just blindfoldly watching Western culture and adapting yourself and telling yourself that I am the cultured person, modern cultured person, you cannot thrive in your life. You would see what the world, what India was, how much emotion was there in people, how much emotion has now remained in people. This all because we have forgotten ourselves. We have forgotten our own selves. So I was talking about never forget, never cut through, never cut yourselves from your roots, from yourselves, from your culture. And even more, the culture that was the greatest of the greatest cultures, Indian culture. And when I say Indian culture, I don't want to tend anyone's mind. I don't want to tilt anyone's mind towards a country system. No, I want to tilt your mind to Vedic culture. That was universal. I want to say Vedic culture, not Indian culture. If you feel that it is not right to say Indian culture, because when we say Indian culture, in some sense, you are just ignoring other countries. You are trying to move those countries a little. You are trying to understand people that those countries are not better than India. No, I am not trying to discuss that. I'm not trying to do so. So that's why I'm using this term, Vedic culture. If you have any sort of disagreement with Indian culture, you say it Vedic culture. Vedic culture was universal. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. The Vedic culture always prayed for the upliftment of all the cultures, of all the countries, of all sorts of men and women that remain, that live on this planet, in this universe. It prays for the upliftment of all the cultures. May all the cultures thrive. And with thriving, may all the cultures move on the path of divinity. This is what the main purpose of Vedic culture was. It was not a countryside. It was not just directed to a country to promote its country and just relegate other countries. No, it was the sense of humanity. It was the sense, this Vedic culture carried the sense of oneness, of harmony, of brotherhood. No one is different from anyone. No one is inferior to anyone, and we are not superior to anyone. Everyone is equal. Everyone has similar rights. Everyone has similar everything. Everyone has similar right to live this life, to spend their lives, to live their lives the fullest. So Vedic culture, it's a Vedic culture that promoted They prayed for every person, irrespective of what culture he came through. And so in the next shloka, in the next verse, we're moving. In the previous verse, the sages also asked, Nishkritischa katham bhavet, mana shuddhi vihinanam, Nishkritischa katham bhavet. Nishkriti is called emancipation. So the people who have so much indulged themselves in materialism and now have completely, their souls are unhappy, they have completely cluttered their lives, and now their lives have become visualized, their lives have become embodiments of anxiety, sorrow, misery. So how could those people achieve peace in their lives? How could those people achieve emancipation in their lives? So those sages are asking Sage Sutta, O Sage Sutta, define us the way how those people would cleanse themselves. The dirtiness that has gathered all around them, how could those people purify themselves? Because look, we gather dirtiness around us, and so who is the person responsible to clean them? There is no prayer. No prayer could help us clean ourselves. No any work, no other types of going to temples or any religious places cannot help us. We ourselves can help us. The person who has met his life, a messed life, a dirty life, a completely cluttered life, he would only work. He has to work to cleanse his life. And then you'd ask what prayer does? If we are the people who would have to work upon, who have to valor in their lives to make themselves purified, so what is the requirement of prayers? Prayers give us strength. Prayers give us the hope that we could do so. These are not just prayers, these are the words of God that always remain with us when we emotionally enchant those prayers. There is the subtle energies of those prayers just come up with us and help us to move on the way, give us the energy to move on the way that we could cleanse ourselves, that we could purify ourselves from the dirtiness that we have gathered around us. How could we take a U-turn? Taking a U-turn is so much difficult. You're moving yourself so ahead with so much force in a direction, and now just taking the U-turn and moving yourself completely in the opposite direction that you were moving through is the most difficult role, is the most difficult work. And an energyless person, effortless person, a person who doesn't have the courage to do so cannot do that. So these mantras, these verses, religious scriptures give us a hope, give us strength, give us power to take a U-turn, to start making a journey completely opposite of the wrong direction that we were moving through. So this is the work, this is the importance, this is the greatness of prayers, of connecting yourself with religious scriptures. They give us the way, they give us a sight. We have eyes, but we cannot see because we have blurred our vision through materialism, through dirty works. And when we read scriptures, when we indulge ourselves, when we attach ourselves to someone, to some scripture, to some religious person, to some spiritual person, then what happens? That dirtiness, that cover that has clouded our eyes is removed day by day. And then we could see the way, we could see the truth. And when we start watching the truth, then, when we understand what the way is, how the way looks like, and what is the result if we walk on a good path, when we understand all these things, then we make up our mind to take a U-turn from the way that we were moving through. That was a wrong way, that was a wrong direction. So this is the usefulness, this is the importance of shastras, of scriptures, of religious books, words and works of great people. And then in the next verse, the sages are saying, Yatha tushyati devesho deva devo jagat guruhu tato vadasva sarvajya suta dharma bhritam vara. The sages are now saying that Devesha, the God, who is Devesha, Devanam Isha, the one who is the God of gods, the Almighty, how could we make him happy? How could we make ourselves closer? How could we make ourselves much more nearer to God, to Almighty? I would say, Sudha, how could those people who have become who have blurred their lives, who have bifurcated their lives from good works, from good things, from good jobs, how could those people again attach themselves to Devesha, to the God, to Almighty? And this word Devesha is also the name of Almighty, and it's also the name of the soul that remains in us. We have made our souls unhappy. And how the soul becomes unhappy? By our dirty works, by our bad works. So our soul is now bewildered. What to do, what not to do, as the soul of Arjuna was in Mahabharata. He didn't understand what to do and what not to do. He was completely bewildered. He was out of options. And then, how did he? What was the way that was spoken in Gita to understand, to clear our vision? That was Ananya Sharanagati. That was complete surrender. That was absolute, utter surrender. And Sri Krishna narrated this knowledge to Arjuna. And when he did understand this knowledge, when he accepted that knowledge, then all of his bewilderness, all of his ignorances went away. And he fought and won the war. That was seeming impossible for the Pandavas to win. So here in this sloka, Devesha, so it is said that how could we make our souls happy? So the way to make our souls happy is to surrender yourselves to a greater force that is good in nature. Both the forces live in nature, good forces, bad forces. So surrender yourselves to God, surrender yourselves to good work. Absolutely. And then what happens? We'd study that thing in the next class, just to give you an outlook, a blueprint of that. I just want to tell that when you surrender yourselves to some greater force of good kind, you start becoming that thing regularly, day by day. Because your soul accepts, when you accept something, when you accept some good thing, the bad things start getting away. And this is the way, day by day. When you start moving to good path, the bad works, the bad tendencies, the bad behaviors of your life go away, get wiped away. And this is the only way which gives you not only strength, but also improves your lives, purifies your lives, and makes you the happiest person in the world. This is the only way. Spirituality is not only for the people who have detached themselves from the world. It is much more necessary for the people who are living in this world, living materialistic lives, and because they have to live both the lives. A materialistic life can only be led well when you have some sort of happiness in you. When you have completely gathered a spiritual force in you, And when that happens, the whole life becomes fruitful to you and bears fruit in this world too. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.